Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. This is a channel where I talk about Pokemon cards, and I tend to focus on the artwork on Pokemon cards, and indeed today it is an artist spotlight. We're going to be looking at the work of Tomomi Ozaki, but we'll also look at her husband's work later on, but we'll just look at this, her work for the moment. Tomomi Ozaki has been working since January of 24 for Pokemon. Doing illustrations of cards, and she has done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 illustrations, I think is the number. We'll look at them. But I'm going to first run over the history of the releases before we focus on actually looking at the artwork on the cards. So the first card she did was the Roselia in Wild Force, which was in Temporal Forces of last year. Then there was the Grookey from Mask of Change, and that was in Twilight Masquerade of last year. The Pancham was in Stellar Miracle and Stellar Crown. The Fuecoco was in Super Electric Breaker and in Surging Sparks. The Cramorant was in the Generation Start decks in Japanese last year, but has just been released in Journey Together in March of 25 in English. The Japanese had a reprint of the Grookey in Terastal Festival at the end of last year, including a Pokeball reverse and a Master Ball reverse. But it wasn't in Prismatic Evolutions, just in the Japanese version. And over here, we have the last cards, which are the Hops Wooloo and the Furret, which were both in Battle Partners, Journey Together. And then there are these two cards that have been in the Japanese Hot Wind Arena, Hot Air Arena, Heatwave Arena, which will be in Destined Rivals in May, when they're released in English. So what I'm going to do is just pull out the cards, and we'll have a look at her art style, and I'll give a little bit of a talk as a complete amateur, but my impressions of her work. I have to say I do like her work quite a lot. It doesn't blow me away most of the time, but it is very nice. I'm glad that she's gets commissioned so much. I hope we get to see much more of her work. So I'm just going to bring the camera in. Bear with me while it judders a bit, or a lot. What sort of distance do we want? We'll do that. So here we go. She does have a very distinctive style, I think. What you will see if you look at them as a whole is that they all feel very similar in the way they've been presented. So you have a central cartoonish style figure done with an outline, clear outline around the figure. Infill colors are very flat, cartoony. No strong light source used or sense of action or movement or drama, except perhaps in this Pancham, one might argue. But they're quite gentle cards. The backgrounds behind the cartoony figure are not outlined. They are more atmospheric of a environment without any great detail of stuff happening. So you've usually got leaves, forest, water, field, trees, that sort of thing. But the focus is very much on a clean representation of the Pokemon on the card. Now, some of these cards are slightly more interesting. This one, for example, this Cramorant, reminds me of the Japanese art style Ukiyo-e, which is the floating world, the sort of Victorian era, 19th century prints that were out in Japan, very popular in the West as well. But it has a real feel of Japanese artwork, that to my eyes anyway. The water is done in a more graphic style, I guess, with these the blues of the water broken up into different shades of blues and the flowing of it, with this cream color as well in the distance, and a white background. But interesting card, not my favorite. By far my favorite is this Pancham, which was one of my favorite cards of last year, actually. I mean, I love Pancham as a Pokemon. And there are very few I collect Pancham cards. There are very few Pancham cards that really work for me. But this one is one of the few that does. I think it's just a beautifully designed card. It's not overly fussy. The choices of the greens in the background are subtle and muted and just right. The low camera angle is perfect. It captures the character of the Pokemon so well with not a lot of detail, really. Just a great card. That's by far my favourite card. I've never been, well, never. It's quite a recent Pokemon, but I'm not particularly a fan of Ogerpon. I know people like Ogerpon. I think that's quite a successful little card. You've got some cartoony little flowers as well, I guess, in the background. You have got a sense of light here. You've got the beams of light coming through the trees, but it's quite subtly done. The focus is very much upon the representation of Ogerpon, front and centre in the frame. Very nice. Just to look at the texturing on this Grookey. I have looked at it before, but it is beautifully done. The Japanese texturing in Terrestrial Festival. So you've got these sort of spirals in the sky, or concentric circles in the sky, that are etched in the background there. And the choices of how to do that texturing are very interesting. I suspect it's the person who designs the texturing is not the artist. They take the artist's work and create something out of it with the texturing. But some very interesting choices. So, nice card. Probably my least favourite in some ways is this Fuecoco. I think the choices of colours here, they're slightly nauseous to my eyes. The greens have got a touch of blue about them, and the blues have got a touch of green. So there's the foliage in the background is not green and the water blue. They're both somewhere in between. And the colours, even on Fuecoco itself, seem somewhat muted, especially against this red, the fire card. There's a sort of almost a clashing effect, perhaps, but it all feels like it's slightly faded. But it's all right. It's, Fuecoco is a cute little Pokemon. And there it is, sitting on a little sandbank out in the water. So that is the work of Tomomi Ozaki. Lovely to see a Furret, by the way. We love Furret. There are very few Furret cards. It's only about 5 or 6, I think, in the entire history of the TCG. And this has been nicely done. This mossy branch that it's running along. And the little happy face. Yeah, lovely Pokemon. We need more Furrets. So that's the work, as I say, of Tomomi Ozaki. I hope she gets commissioned to do many more cards. It's lovely to see her work. While we're looking at her work, and because it's quite a short video otherwise, we're just going to look at the work of her husband. Hang on a sec. So, bear with me while I get them out. So, yeah, she's married to Toi8, or Toi8, but I think it's pronounced Toi8, which is the Japanese, who has had 4 cards so far. There's about to be a 5th one at the end of this week in Glory of Team Rocket. But one of these cards is an English exclusive. So we start with the Noctowl, and this came out in Wild Force or Temporal Forces. I've only got the Japanese here in these ones. Very much a more dramatic art style than his wife. You've got a bright moonlit night here. So the colours are drained out because of the moonlight, but it's got real drama to it. Beautiful. I mean, Noctowl's quite an appealing Pokemon aesthetically, so I like that. Wasn't so keen on this Skarmory. It's a little bit forgettable. This is from Mask of Change or Twilight Masquerade. It's all greys and blues. Bit of drama, bit of sort of wind, lightning. Yeah, direction to it. It's not too bad, but there are better Skarmory cards. It just leaves me, yeah, it's somewhat forgettable card, I think. I'm not a fan of this Pokemon. I love Tauros, but I think the fire one's great, but the water Paldean Tauros is a bit odd. This one was released in, sorry, I've got an itchy nose, was in Super Electric Breaker or Surging Sparks. And I think he's done a pretty good job with it. It's you know, there's a lot of black here, and the trees are heavily done in black. The light is very harsh. There's a bit of steam coming out of the nose of Tauros. And it's just, I find it an unappealing design of a Poké. This blue is not a nice blue to my eyes. And Tauros is one of my, favourite Pokemon of mine. I love them. But this just doesn't quite work for me. The watery area it's standing on just looks a bit swampy and bleak. It's not a bad card, but somewhat forgettable. This is an English exclusive to the pre-release alternate arts for Surging Sparks. Which way does this come out? We'll get it out here. I don't have the staff version of this. If there is I assume there's a staff version, but I haven't hunted that one down yet. But I may not. It depends what the price is on it. Champow's a interesting design of a Pokemon. I think this is quite a dramatic card. I like the almost like a low angle of light shining up on it from somewhere below. Real drama to it. But it is a dramatic Pokemon that is, lends itself to good illustration. I think that's a nice card. And the last one I can't show you because it hasn't been released yet. He's done a Team Rocket Zubat from the Glory of Team Rocket, which will also be in Destined Rivals in May. So he hasn't had as many commissions quite as his wife, but his first card came out at the same time as her first card, and his second card came out at the time of her second card. So I think that's quite, it's a nice little story that you've got a husband and wife team who are both commissioned at the same time to do artwork, so they could have shared their excitement at being Pokemon illustrators. I think that's nice. Nice little story there. So that is the work of Tomomi Ozaki. And I hope we will get to see many more cards by her in the coming years. That is the video for today.